part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out.
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
The dollar falling so much, and are you concerned about that?
Well, you know, I'm a person that likes a strong dollar, but a weak dollar makes you a hell of a lot more money. Hate to tell you, I don't know if you study it, but I study it. And if you look at the yen,
I went to Penn and worked, so I know this.
You understand?
Absolutely.
Oh, you did go to Penn.
I went to work. Yes,
well,
sir.
that means you're a smarter guy than I even thought, and I know you're smart. So, when we have a strong dollar, one thing happens. It sounds good. But you don't do any tourism. You can't sell tractors. You can't sell trucks. You can't sell anything. It is good for inflation. That's about it. And we have no inflation. We've wiped out inflation. But it's an interesting question. So I will never say I like a low currency, but you remember the battles I had with the yuan, with China and with Japan, Japan being the yen. They always wanted a weak currency. They're trying to get a weak currency now. Now, it doesn't sound good, but you make a hell of a lot more money with a weaker dollar. Not a weak dollar, but a weaker dollar than you do with a strong dollar. And the first people that are going to notice it are the manufacturers of trucks and various other things. Like, look at Caterpillar, how well they're doing now. When you have a strong dollar, you can't sell anything. It's only good for inflation, and it's good psychologically. It makes you feel good. But with that being said, I love strong dollars. But you make your money with a currency. And I had so many different fights with President Xi, between Japan and China. All they want to do is have a weak currency. They're always fighting for a weak currency. And that's how they really dominated over the years. So when I see it down there, I don't lose sleep over it, let's put it that way. In fact, sometimes I go to sleep very happy. You understand? Do you agree with me?
I agree with a lot of what you said, Mr. President. Do you think it makes any easier to impose your tariffs with that lower dollar? Because
I think it makes it easier even for tariffs, yeah. And it makes the tariffs worth much more. And it's easier to pay off debt. And it's easier to get a low interest rate, too. There are a lot of good things. It's hard to explain to people. The headline, Trump wants a weak dollar. It's not a weak dollar.
It's a game-changing technology. And so, you can speculate as to why things like Ethereum have had this pop in the past few weeks. That's my perspective, is because this legislation has helped them have a leg up. I don't think at the end of the day they're going to win. So if you think about what problem these other technologies solve, the answer is it's really nothing at all. Bitcoin already solved it. It's already got the liquidity, the attention, the momentum behind it to keep going. And it's got this first mover advantage that's very hard to catch up to at this point.
Different companies are thinking about somehow not going exactly what strategy, but putting Bitcoin into the Treasury. Is that?
Yeah, well, look, I think the bigger conversation here is there should be way more pressure on the public company CEOs who are leaving a very large portion of their economic value for their shareholders in dollars. The U.S. dollar has lost 30% of its purchasing power in the last 5 years or so, since 2020. The S&P 500 denominated in Bitcoin is down 85% since 2020. Bitcoin is a much better store of value than U.S. dollars.
I guess people would say, are you out of your, people that don't believe in the whole story of crypto and Bitcoin.
Well, the Bitcoin.
I don't want my company speculating on, and as a shareholder, they would be, petrified to have a large stake in Bitcoin.
From a Bitcoiner's perspective, we think that they are speculating on the U.S. dollar's ability to store value. And so there is two things that have happened over the last 15 years. As Bitcoin has increased the purchasing power of the people and the companies who hold it, the U.S. dollar has destroyed that purchasing power. And so, again, it goes back to the fact that if you are running a company and you have shareholders and your job is to protect the economic value of that business, are you better off holding dollars for the next 10 years or putting it in Bitcoin? And I think what you're seeing is that this idea of storing corporate assets in Bitcoin, again, that is now a contrarian trade. I think it will become a consensus trade over time. Yeah, well, the nice thing about stablecoins is they don't go anywhere other than stay at $1. So, they can grow in market cap size in terms of how many people are using them. But I don't think people really use stablecoins as a comparison to Bitcoin or altcoins where they're looking to try to drive some sort of financial performance. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I actually think most of Wall Street's time and attention is on Bitcoin. There are other assets that from time to time start to get some capital flows. But if you look, things like Ethereum, Solana, et cetera, they still haven't set in new all-time highs this summer. And so I think that Bitcoin has kind of broken away. Doesn't mean that some of these other assets maybe in the future can't do that, but Bitcoin definitely continues to dominate the market, both in terms of actual dominance of market cap, but also I think just capital flows and time and attention.
Move in the dollar, playing for upside. He was spot on. His timing was right. Tim is right as well. I think this is just a bounce off an oversold condition. And go back and listen to what President Trump said, I believe on Friday, and I've been pointing this out. We've been trying to point out for a while. In 16 through 20, that was the first administration that openly talked about the dollar being too strong and the want for a weaker dollar. Although they will say that they like a stronger dollar, he said it again on Friday that a strong dollar actually hurts us, doesn't help us. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, although when you're $38 trillion in the hole, I get it, but they clearly want the dollar to continue to deteriorate.
China, they're meeting right now in Stockholm, Bessent and his counterpart. What happens if they say there's some sort of deal? And granted, a deal is in the eyes of the beholder. A deal is in the eyes of who is talking about that deal and how they are spinning it. But if they're able to say that they're going to walk away with a win, they're going to extend that tariff deadline from August 12th to whatever it is, 90 days out, do the markets rally?
I don't know. I think we've gotten a lot of rally. I think there's certain parts of the market that will rally. I want to continue to buy China tech. I think there will be other places to play. I think the semiconductor space will be very happy about that. NVIDIA will be very happy about that. Maybe even Apple will be happy about that. And you can be sure they're going to tell you they got a trade deal. Both sides have a lot to gain by saying there's a trade deal. They've already kind of told us there's a trade deal, I think. This is, President Trump and his team are not afraid to talk tough and to stir up a little bit more acrimony again. But I think right now the sense is Bessent and crew have found places that both sides can compromise and get something out of this deal.
Except that it is not good for American consumers and business consumers, because eventually, and that's not going to take all that long, the tariffs will be passed on dollar for dollar to the consumers. And that will mean less consumption, less growth, less jobs, and less profit. And right now, it's hard to see any of this in the data because inventories were increased in many places to hedge against the tariff impacts. Some places supply chains were tweaked. And yes, certain producers and retailers are absorbing the tariffs for the time being. But that will not last. And they will eventually, it's a certainty, be passed on.
But
and therefore, it's not good for
So
for
net
the US
it's not.
economy.
You know for a fact this trade deal is not going to be good long term for the United States and Europe.
I don't think so.
Just because of inflation, aren't we able to see
growth?
Doesn't it open up some of the markets in Europe to our people, and doesn't it maybe cause some onshoring that could be good? Doesn't it raise some money through the tariffs? You like taxes. You love taxes. It's just a tax, right? Just a tax on either corporations or one or the other, and you can see the proceeds are growing and growing. I'm just saying, I don't think there's any way you can just definitively say long term this is going to be a bad deal for Europe and the United States. I don't think you know that.
Well, the issue of time frames is important. So, yes, there may be eventually, increased production onshoring in the United States of certain types of goods, which are susceptible to being produced here. Baseball hats are not, for example. That's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the instance. That's a long time. And in the interim, these negative effects are going to assert themselves.
If they eventually show up, right? We haven't seen
which
yet.
they will.
Are you worried?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we had Trump asked about Epstein once again. And we heard Lucknick laughing in the background. Remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And we have the Bitcoin maxis on CNBC. And we know the sheep listen. Bitcoin solves all the problems. Guys, we know how many utility tokens that we have that's actually going to change everything that we do. We know Bitcoin was set up to be a currency, and that's it. And then we have Pump says that public companies should be investing in Bitcoin instead of dollars. And they definitely need to diversify because we know the dollar is about to be devalued. Actually, it's already devalued. It's just the fact is the central banks are holding things up. And in 2026, we're going to lose another 10 to 20% when it comes to the U.S. dollar. And we know Trump wants that weaker dollar. His job is to get us to a level playing field, and part of that is getting this dollar down so therefore he can get this debt down. And he'll be able to do that with stable coins and then also pass out free money when it comes to universal basic income. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have China and U.S. working on a deal. And like she said, it depends on the spin they want to put on it. And we know how the media likes to do it. And I'm surprised that she said that. But guys, we know it's definitely time to build. These corporations need the excuse to start laying off and bringing in these machines. And that's the reason why the Fed has been keeping rates higher for longer. And we know all this technology is ready. And China and the U.S. already have a deal. And that means no deal. We know China is going one way. The United States is going another. Only thing you have to do is look at BRICS and the Belt and Road. America, the Babylon is falling, and China, the dragon is rising. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Tesla and Samsung ink a $16.5 billion contract. And these chips are coming from South Korea, not in America. And when we look at all the big subsidies when it comes to Tesla, they come from China. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Treasury to borrow $1 trillion. Yes, guys, you heard that correct. And that's only in a quarter. This is unbelievable. And we know for a fact none of this is sustainable. And they're really borrowing this type of money to kick this can down the road. Remember, guys, we have to refinance close to $10 trillion. And even though markets have been hitting the highs, we're going to start pulling back. And we're definitely going to get an event that distracts the sheep while they move the money. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. Y'all have a wonderful day.
80-day tariff pause. Chinese goods are about to get a lot more expensive. David Riedel is president and founder of Riedel Research. David, welcome. It's always great to see you. Why are they going to get more expensive?
Well, I think that, industries have done what they can to absorb the tariffs so far. Companies have all worked through any inventory that they had from before the tariffs or during any breaks in the tariffs. Once you have a period of time with 55% tariffs on U.S. imports from China, it's pretty dramatically. And this is all going into our holiday season. So if you do get another 90 days and don't get some reprieve on the 55%, I think prices are going to go higher for U.S. consumers.
So just an extension without any sort of reprieve, that is not going to be a victory. And does that force the hand of Besant and company at all anymore? I mean, if you have consumers complaining about the price of...
It's certainly going to, and it sort of should, because I think China has reminded everyone that they do have a lot of levers to play here. They are obviously a huge market for a lot of things. They're a huge supplier of many things that are important to American consumers. And, of course, the rare earths power remains extremely strong.
I'm seeing export controls for critical minerals being leveraged, and China has been very clear, John, that it is not going to be bullied. Each side have their weaknesses and their strengths. This is going to be a long negotiation to get to some end states, John, but I'm not sure really what that end state is, actually.
This is Samsung's biggest foundry win yet, $16.5 billion you talked about, equivalent to roughly 8% of its 2024 sales or total revenues, and runs over the next 8 years. With Elon Musk even suggesting the total amount is, quote, likely to be several times higher.
This time, Treasury expecting to borrow just over $1 trillion in the July through September quarter. That's $453 billion more than what they announced back in April. Now, Wall Street had been expecting borrowing to increase, but this is a bigger jump than estimates that I had seen. But Treasury officials do say this is almost entirely due to the now resolved fight over the debt limit. So during that impasse on Capitol Hill, Treasury had to spend down some of its cash on hand. And now that the ceiling has been lifted, it's working to build its reserves back up. So they say if they had ended the second quarter with the $850 billion in cash on hand that they had expected, then Treasury's borrowing would only have been $4 billion more than the previous announcement. So Treasury yields so far not really reacting too much to this, just off their high for the day at about 4.4. Now, Treasury says it does expect to get its cash on hand back up to the standard $850 billion level to end the upcoming quarter, Q3. That would set it up to borrow what they estimate would be $590 billion in Q4. Two quick things to note, Mike. These estimates do take into account the expected increase in tariff revenue this year. So just notable that borrowing is still elevated in spite of that increase in revenue. And this announcement, as you know, also sets us up to get the refunding announcement. That'll be 8:30 a.m.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York. COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.